The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
I'll just say, after Vera distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, we are powered up, as always, by the folks at Belly Up Sports. BellyUpSports.com. Check out our lineup of the complete list of all of our podcasts. We're growing every week, and we got a lot of great shows on, from the Corner Booth, the 1420 in the morning show. You name it, we've got a complete list of our network here on BellyUpSports.com. And also check out our articles. We got a great group of writers that cover everything in the world of sports. And great to be part of the crew here on Belly Up Sports. It is a free-for-all Friday. Hope everybody's getting ready for a great Memorial Day weekend. I know I am. I'm not going to do a whole lot this weekend, but the weather's going to be great. And I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy it yourself. Make it a great weekend. So, but we thought we'd kick it off here with our Friday edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are sponsored, as always, by MahlerBros.com. If you want to look good on the golf course, go no further than MahlerBros.com with their complete selection of polos, tees, you name it. If you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. And that's the important thing. And no better way to get that going than MahlerBros.com. And, of course, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, use the promo code BELLYUP, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That's MahlerBros.com. You want to be part of the show, as always, we invite you to follow us on Twitter at The Real Captain Lou. And, of course, follow us on Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page, and my personal one as well, Louis Gamlin. Or drop me an email, sweetlou1965 at yahoo.com. Lots to talk about this morning. Stanley Cup playoffs are still going on. Dallas, Joel Pavelski does it again. He helps Dallas stave off elimination with an overtime winner. Dallas wins last night. Now they're down 3-1. They'll play Game 5 on Saturday night, prime time, against Vegas in Vegas. Should be a great game there. And the Boston Celtics in the NBA playoffs, they staved off elimination again. They've got momentum on their side now, I believe. They go down to Miami Saturday as well. Game 6 in that matchup. I'll tell you, now the pressure might be on Miami a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. On the local scene, here in Michigan, we've got a little bit of a debate going. We'll talk a little about that. Michigan State football, they moved their season finale to on Thanksgiving weekend to Ford Field instead of taking away a home game. We'll talk about that. Caused a little bit of a controversy here in this area. Did they sell out to bail out the Big Ten? Taking away a home game for the home field advantage. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. And last week we had Mitch Bernstein, one of our baseball insiders, talking about the quarter pole. We're going to take a quick look. It's one of the measuring sticks in history for Major League Baseball. Memorial Day weekend is usually the first place you look at for where your standings are. If your team's in the hunt, if they're out of it, they should start thinking about next year. We'll take a look at all 6 divisions, the standings, give you our thoughts on that as well. And again, it's always one of the measuring sticks. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and of course the end of the year, obviously. So we'll take a look at the standings there as well. So a lot to talk about here on this Potpourri Friday, free for all, whatever you want to talk about as we get ready for Memorial Day weekend. Programming note, we will not be on Memorial Day. We'll be back Wednesday, and we've got a great guest lined up for Memorial Day. Chris Mascaro. We're going to talk. He's He's going to be our PGA insider. We're going to get up to date on all the things going on in the world of professional golf, including the PGA Championship, Michael Block, and everything like that, and what's going on in his sports world. We're looking forward to talking to Chris on Wednesday, so we'll get you up to speed on that as well. So, Stanley Cup playoffs last night. Dallas on the brink of elimination, back and forth. They went. I thought actually Vegas kind of took it to them in the second period. It was still just a 2-2 tie. But what I liked about with Dallas, they stepped it up defensively, and they got the game winner in overtime. Joel Pavelski, about 2:23 into the extra session, gets the game winner for Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. They stave off elimination. And as crazy as it is now, Joel Pavelski, that's his 73rd playoff goal, passes Alex Ovechkin for most goals now for active players in the playoffs, as he got his 73rd goal. Just one of the, again, what I said, Dallas, their backs were against the wall. And I'm not saying they're playing on house money from here on out, but they came through when they had to. I thought that Ottinger played a lot better in net. He and Aiden Hill, I thought, played pretty much the same. They both played solidly. 37 saves, 36 saves for both goaltenders. It was a great hockey game to watch. And, Dallas isn't out of it. They stepped up, losing Jamie Benn to that suspension. We'll talk about that in a moment. But just like to play Marcia Schultz again. He stayed strong for Vegas, getting a goal. He's played tremendously in the playoffs for Vegas. Now, Game 5, as we mentioned, is on Saturday. I still like Vegas to close this series out. They may be able to do it Saturday night in Game 5. If they do, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals will be on Wednesday, as they'll take on Florida. If the series goes to 6 or 7, then I believe Game 1 will be on Saturday, June 3rd. And all those games are going to be on TNT and TBS. So kind of a little heads up on that. But Game 4, a little back and forth. And again, you talk about it, it seems to me that it's almost redundant. Maybe, I don't know if redundant's the right word. Maybe, it just seems basic or cliche-ish, but, staying out of the penalty box, and that unfortunately for Vegas, they couldn't do it in overtime. They got the penalty, and Pavelski was able to take advantage of it with the power play goal in overtime. In Game 3, we talked about Jamie Benn with that cross check. That was a dumb play. First and foremost, it was a dumb play, and it cost Dallas in Game 3. They got the 5-minute major on there, and Vegas was able to take advantage. Already up 1-0 with that goal a minute 12 into Game 3. They were able to get the goal to make it 2-0, and then they got the momentum. They got the third goal. Dallas was never really in that game. So now Dallas plays without Jamie Benn last night, a 2-game suspension. He's going to be missing Game 5 in Vegas. Was it warranted? Was it too much? That obviously that's the $1 million question in this series. And I don't know. I mean, I look at Alex Pietrangelo's slash in Game 4 in Game 4 against Edmonton. He got 1 game for that. Now you're going to say he didn't go for the head, and that to me is probably more of the determining factor. And I don't know if Mark Stone was defenseless, but he's on the ground. You can't do that. I can see why they did it. It's just again, it goes back to what we talked about on Wednesday. Just momentary lapse of judgment. And obviously it cost Jamie Benn with 2 games. I thought he was only going to get 1. I honestly thought he'd be out for Game 3. Getting Game 5 sets a precedent now. I'm not 100% surprised. I thought he would only get 1 game. But, and fortunately for Dallas, they were able to withstand it. They kind of rallied around it, maybe in Game 4. And again, I thought they stepped it up defensively, did the Stars. And and we talked about this as well in Game 3 and with the other series. I could see more on Vegas's side last night. They may have looked like they took the foot off the gas pedal ever so slightly, and Dallas took advantage of it, maybe in the third period. They had a chance to go for the jugular, obviously, and win it and sweep and set up the Stanley Cup final. But, it's human nature. You've got that lead. You kind of maybe thought a little too much. I guarantee you that Bruce Cassidy will have Vegas ready for Game 5 on Saturday. And Marcia Schultz said it. Mark Stone said, maybe, give credit to Dallas. They may have wanted it a little bit more. And their backs were against the wall. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and they came out. I thought Luke Glendening played really well in Game 4 for Dallas. So now it's, again, we talked about it. Game 5 is tomorrow night for Dallas and Vegas. Again, I think the goaltending really wasn't the issue last night for Vegas. I think Aiden Hill is playing tremendously. He still had a .930 save percentage last night. Just that rush in overtime, and with the extra man for Vegas or for Dallas and Pavelski with the huge goal. Now the series goes back to Vegas for Game 5, and 8 o'clock. It's for the NHL. It's going to be must-see TV. They get prime time. It's always tough on Memorial Day weekend with these playoffs. With the Western Conference, with the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs. But as far as viewership, but if you're not doing anything Saturday night, I think it's going to be a great game to watch. Game 5. The atmosphere in Vegas, right? To me, their pregame and everything, second to none right now. They put on a hell of a show, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Game 5 with Dallas and Vegas. And the winner of that will take on, obviously, the Florida Panthers. What can you say about Matthew Tkachuk? Unbelievable. Another game winner. He had 2 goals in the sweep, or in Game 4 to help sweep it for Florida. The overtime winner. It's amazing how they're just right place at the right time. They're just playing opportunistic hockey. But what I love about Florida's play, and, obviously, is their defensive style. I think they outmatched Carolina. They pushed them around a little bit, and the special teams were huge. 0 for 8 on the power play for Florida or for Carolina. That's big. And, when you've got a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky right now in net for Florida, and he's just playing lights out. I look back on there was 3 different instances. Carolina, you talk about not being opportunistic. They weren't. Out shooting. I want to see if I can look it up real quick. They couldn't take advantage of the opportunities they had. For example, in the third period of Game 1, outshot Florida 14-2, can only get 1 goal. Second period, outshot the Panthers 17-1 in Game 2, and can only get 1 goal out of it. And then Game 3, Carolina outshot Florida 14-5 in the second period, and we're losing 1-0, and outshot Florida again 11-2 in the third period and couldn't get a goal. I mean, that you got to credit obviously Bobrovsky for that. But, when you can't take advantage of the disparity in shots, I'm not saying Carolina outplayed Florida. They obviously didn't. They got swept. Florida played opportunistic defense at the right time. And again, getting strong goaltending by Bobrovsky. And then, of course, led by Matthew Tkachuk with that game-winning goal in overtime. I mean, what can you say? He's got 9 goals right now in the playoffs. And they're fun to watch. Just very, very, it's amazing. And so Florida with the overtime win, Florida with the win, not in overtime. I take that back. 5 seconds left in regulation time on the power play. Barkov with 10 assists. He's for Florida. He's playing wonderfully as well. I really am looking forward to seeing if Florida can keep up, match that physical mentality. Should they play Vegas? Will that be able to hold up? I mean, if you look at the talent level right now, one thing to keep in mind with Florida, they were the President's Trophy winner last year. They were the best team in the league, and obviously they didn't make it. Now, I mean, and you look back at, I think January 1st, they were in I want to say 13th place. They were 8 points behind the Red Wings in the standings. And what turned the light on for Florida? I mean, they made a couple of acquisitions, but all of a sudden, this is, I guess my point here is we shouldn't really be that surprised that they're making this run. They're the same team that won the President's Trophy last year. And now they got hot in the playoffs, 11-1 in their playoff run now after being down 3-1 against Boston. Obviously, we talk about it all postseason here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Momentum is huge. They've got it. The confidence level. You could see it in the swagger, against Carolina. They took it to them. Carolina did not fall for, the unnecessary penalties, but, Florida they were just that much better defensively and a little bit stronger. Can they keep that up? That's going to be the big question in the Stanley Cup Finals starting next week. They're going to be I don't know if they're going to be an overwhelming underdog. They've proven they can win on the road. They took the first 2 from Carolina. They withstood, the rushes in the periods, like we talked about, being outshot tremendously. That's one thing that they're going to have to keep in mind on. Stepping it up a little more defensively is, they're not going to be able to get away with all those shots on goal differentials, the disparity when they play in the Stanley Cup Final and a team like Vegas, if they make it, or Dallas. So, that's going to be key. But if they can get that strong goaltending play from Bobrovsky, who knows? Maybe they can keep it up. And, man, what a run for Florida. They're now in the Stanley Cup Finals. So it's going to be interesting to see how they make it, how they can hold up in the Stanley Cup Final now as they await the winner of Vegas and Dallas. Their Game 5 again on Saturday night. We're going to switch gears and talk a little about the NBA playoffs now, as they're going to have their Game 6 now coming up on Saturday night in Miami. But first, I want to talk a little bit about MahlerBros.com. When you're out golfing, especially this weekend, it's going to be great here in Michigan. I'm sure for a good portion of the country, it's going to be. You're on the front 9, you're on the 8th hole, you're struggling, man. Or you're playing well, but you're sweating. I mean, it's warm and it's starting to get to you. You want to take that shirt off and you can't. Well, we have the answer for that. Go to MahlerBros.com. We've got some very sleek design polos. The breathability of these is amazing. They're comfortable, they're lightweight, and they look great. And, man, I'll tell you what, when you're looking amazing in one of these shirts with the loud design, if that's what you like, or more of a sleek, conservative design, you look good, you're going to feel good. When you feel good, you're going to play good. And I'm telling you, if you feel good, you've got that confidence, it's going to add you're going to knock a couple of strokes off your score. And that just makes you feel even better. You talk about momentum, getting on the golf course and playing well. You make a couple of putts you don't think you can. Next thing you know, you're making the turn. Who knows? You're shooting your personal best. And you've got Mahler Bros to thank for that. Check out our website, MahlerBros.com, for all those designs, the sleek designs, the loud, the more conservative look. We've also got T-shirts, tumblers, mugs, you name it. Get on MahlerBros.com and use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your purchase. It's that simple. And you'll like it. I'm telling you, it's a great looking shirt, and it's going to make you feel good on the golf course. So MahlerBros.com, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your purchase. And you'll look good on the golf course, and you'll feel great as you start in the unofficial start of summer. Starts this weekend, starts tomorrow. And it used to be for me. I remember back in the day, we used to go on a yearly trip on Memorial Day weekend. Some buddies we'd meet in Chicago, and we did it for, oh my goodness, 20 years. And it was this was the start. This started out our summer fantastically. So it's here. So when you're on the golf course, make sure you check out MahlerBros.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP for a 15% off discount. That is MahlerBros.com. All right, the NBA playoffs. We talked about how Denver swept out LA the other day. So they're awaiting the winner. The NBA Finals will start on Thursday. Game 5 last night. Miami had a chance to close out Boston at the Boston Garden. Now, I don't know. I don't know if the Boston Garden has the mystique that it used to have way back in the day when it was virtually impossible to win there. Miami won, obviously, the first 2 games in Boston of this series. Went home to Miami, blew out Boston in Game 3, and we're all starting to question the heart, the guts, whatever you want to call it, with Boston. They stepped up in Game 4, found something, were able to win going away in Miami. So they went to game 5 last night in Boston, looking to try to make it 3-2, maybe get that momentum switch, maybe get that noose a little bit tighter for Miami. Well, that's what they did last night. They went up to Boston, and I'm telling you, it was 110-97 was the final score. But that game wasn't even that close. I watched a good portion of it last night, and I got to tell you, just bouncing back and forth, Boston had control of that one from the opening tip. Up double figures in the first quarter, and it was almost like they were just kind of reeling them along a little bit, in the second half. Then they would jump out 20. Then it would be cut down to 11. Then they would jump back up 18. And, I think they're up 18 after 3 quarters of play. Boston blew them out. It wasn't even close. Now, here we go. We're back to Miami for game 6 Saturday night. The Celtics looking to try to even it up at 3 apiece. And Boston's a 3-point favorite, 2.5 to 3-point favorite. No matter where you look on the odds makers lines, I think DraftKings, they were 2.5-point favorites last I looked. And the odds to winning the national champion or the NBA Finals now have Boston with better odds than Miami. Miami can use that chip on their shoulder mentality. Nobody respects us, whatever. But they're going to have to dig down. Jimmy Butler looked human last night. Only 14 points. He got no help from Bam Adebayo. Duncan Robinson started out decently in the first half. He had double digits. But they're going to need more out of Bam Adebayo. And he looked tentative last night. Boston looked like they were playing game 7, which they had to. But now you're going to Miami for game 6. And I got to tell you, now you got to wonder, who's the pressure on? I think the pressure more squarely is on Miami. And now Boston, they've got an opportunity to take advantage of it. They just looked more organized last night. And I don't know. I like, Eric Spoelstra as the head coach of Miami. I think he is a little better coach. Can he rally them around? Can he dig down in that Zen mentality and get these guys to keep it going for game 6 and bring it back to Boston, and stop it? This goes back to Boston for game 7. Wow. The storylines, we talked about it. Nobody has won. Nobody has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit in the NBA playoffs. Nobody. It's 0-150. And now Boston with an opportunity. It's going to be so difficult to win 4 games in a row. I get it. But now Miami's got to dig down and find something. Can Jimmy Butler muster another monster game? A 40-point performance. The key in this one, obviously, is like in game 3. Boston jumped out to that lead quick and never let up. In game 4, Miami had control of that game for the first half, and they blew it. Maybe that's something that, that they have to kind of build on, because Boston came out in game 5. They took advantage of that. They came out and they didn't relent. Now it's a lot to ask to keep that up for another 2 games. Digging themselves that huge hole obviously is going to take its toll at some point. But can they muster it? Can they keep it going? Can they get in the heads now of Miami? Because Miami was definitely in the heads of Boston, especially after game 3. And I didn't think Boston had it in them to win 2 games in a row. I thought maybe they could win 1 and go back to Boston for game 5. But now it's game 6. And maybe Boston's got that mentality. We're playing on house money. Nobody thought we could win 2 games in a row. Let's go down there and steal another one. Maybe we can get game 7 back in Boston, because if you do that, all bets are off. And all I can think of is all the opportunities throughout the years that my Detroit Pistons, the Chicago Bulls, Philadelphia, even the Lakers in the finals, you had an opportunity to close out a Boston Celtic team back then, and you didn't. And now you got to go to Boston Garden for game 7 or whatever it is now, TD Bank Center. I don't even know what they call it anymore. I'm always going to call it the Boston Garden. You got an opportunity to go back to if Boston gets that opportunity to go back for game 7, I don't think they're going to lose it. I think Miami's going to blow it. So this is a must win, in my opinion, for Miami tonight to win game 6. They don't win, I think it's done. Boston is going to take advantage in game 7, and they're going to go on to take on Denver a team that I think is going to win the championship no matter who they play in the finals now, because I think they're just the deeper team right now. But that's going to be fun to watch. And we'll see how Game 6 unfolds tomorrow against with Miami and Boston. So keep an eye on that. And, we'll talk more about that on Wednesday, because both the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals will be set for Game 7. We've got a couple of things we want to talk about before we wrap it up here tonight, or this morning rather. Here again, we want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We invite you to subscribe to our channel, and you can take a look back on all of our shows that we've had throughout the years. It's always been a blast bringing this to you, as we are powered up by Belly Up Sports. Michigan State, here locally in East Lansing, kind of a little controversial thing that reared its head on Wednesday. Now, Michigan State agreed to play Penn State on Black Friday. I know that the NFL is doing their thing with Black Friday with the Jets. I think they're playing Miami, if I'm not mistaken, on Black Friday. Well, Michigan State and Penn State decided to move their game. Well, they're going to move their game to Friday, Black Friday. NBC is calling the shots here. For those of you that don't know, the outgoing commissioner, Kevin Warren, before he went to become the president of the Chicago Bears, he negotiated this media deal with NBC, CBS, and Fox, billions and billions of dollars. He left a mess before he left. And now the Big Ten is, they're kind of in a pickle. Part of that package was having November night games for the Big Ten. Now, Michigan State is already playing at Ohio State. November 11th, I believe it is, a Saturday night game, 7:30, nationally televised. Well, they wanted another one. Michigan said no way. And they said they're not going to do it, so they didn't. So Michigan State cowed down to the Big Ten, and they're moving their finale on Thanksgiving weekend to Friday to Ford Field. Now Michigan State's going to lose out on their home field for, their home finale for Senior Day. They're going to probably have to move that up. I don't know when they're going to move it up to when they play Iowa or whatever. I just don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. I know a lot of you aren't familiar with what goes on in the state of Michigan, but Friday and Saturday for years has been state finals weekend for Michigan State High School Athletic Association for their football games, and they all get to be played at Ford Field. Before that, it was the Silverdome for years. They used to play all 4 games on Friday or Saturday, and so now they're going to be pushed to Saturday, Sunday, and I know a lot of people aren't happy about it. Michigan State sold out for the almighty dollar. Now you can listen to Alan Haller, the athletic director of Michigan State, trying to paint a rosy picture of it. I know a lot of folks, a lot of season ticket holders are not happy about it. And so now they're going to play it Friday night. I don't know. They say it's just a one-time thing. I hope that's all it is. Michigan State cowed down to the Big Ten. They don't owe the Big Ten anything. The Big Ten doesn't care about Michigan State. That's obvious. They put the full court heat pressure on them, and Michigan State buckled on this one. And again, they're doing it for the dollar. We all know it, and I'm just not happy about it. They're not going. I know it's going to be indoors. Part of the thing that some of the folks like about it is that they're going to be, they don't have to sit outside for Thanksgiving weekend. But again, traditionalists don't like it. It's just another tradition that, they're cowing to the networks. It just shows you what's running professional sports and college sports. Now it's television. They're pouring so much money into these universities. Now they're bowing down to them. I give kudos to Michigan for not bowing down and doing a night game in November. They don't want to do it. They don't have to. And so I like it that they're not doing it. I'm disappointed in Michigan State, disappointed in the Detroit Lions, Ford Field. They're pushing back the MHSAA. I listened to the MHSAA, their president, Mark Ewell. I think the guy does a tremendous job, but he's kind of put in a bad spot here. What is he supposed to say? if he disagrees with it, he looks like the bad guy. So he's rolling with it. He said he's excited. Now, the one upside is you're going to have 4 straight days of football at Ford Field. You can make a big weekend out of it, but I don't know. I just, for those, college games are supposed to be played on their home stadiums in the regular season. I'm sorry. And I'm always going to say that. And, they were still going to get 40 to 50,000 people. If Michigan State is 5-7 or 5-6, whatever, are you really going to spend all that money to go to watch them down at Ford Field? It's a night game. I don't know. I mean, they are going to refund the season ticket holders for that final game, and they give them first dibs to watch a game at Ford Field. But I guarantee you the ticket prices aren't going to be cheap for that game. I guarantee you. And you can thank television for that as well. So finally here this afternoon or this morning, whatever, it's only taken me a month. I'm still getting it mixed up. I'm normally on at night, but with our rehab situation with my surgery, I've decided to do morning shows. But anyways, here we are this morning. We'll wrap it up this weekend with a look at Major League Baseball. We had last week, we talked about it, the quarter poll for Memorial Day, and that's kind of how you judge how your teams are doing. Let's take a quick look at the standings in Major League Baseball. In the American League, we'll start off with that. In the West, you've got the Texas Rangers, kind of a surprise team to some, 31-18 right now with a 3-game lead over Houston. They're starting to inch their way back up. They started out slow. They've overtaken the Los Angeles Angels and the Seattle Mariners now. 4 teams in the American League West over 500. And so they're the Houston Astros 3 games back at Texas, the Angels 4 back, and the Mariners still hanging around at 5.5 games back in the first quarter. In the American League Central, that's by far the weakest division in all Major League Baseball. Our Detroit Tigers are only 2 games out of first, 2 games under 500. The Minnesota Twins are 26-24, leading the division. Detroit is 2 games out at 23-25. Cleveland, 21-28, 4.5 out. The White Sox, can't figure them out. Thought they would rebound this year. Thought they would do a little better. They're 21-31 right now. They got beat by Detroit last night. They're 6 games out only, though. So being 10 games out of first and only being 6 out, wow. And then Kansas City and Oakland, what can you say? Next year, I don't know if Oakland's even going to be playing in Oakland next year. Oakland 10-42 right now. They're on pace to only possibly win 40 games. They're on pace to possibly be as bad as Detroit was back in 2004 when they were 40-122 or whatever it was, or 42-120. They're even on pace probably to do worse than that. They're looking at probably being on pace to only win 30-35 games. That's just an embarrassment. In the American League East, all 5 teams over 500, by far the best division in Major League Baseball. Tampa Bay still they're chugging along, 37-15, cooled off a little bit, if you could say that, 6-4 in their last 10. The Orioles still hanging strong, 33-17, playing great baseball, only 3 back. The Yankees, they've lost a couple in a row. They're now 7 games out, but a couple of weeks ago, they were in last place with an over 500 record. They're at 30-22. The Red Sox have lost 4 straight. They're coming back to earth, 26-24. And Toronto, all of a sudden now they're in last place at 26-25. Great baseball being played in that division. Tampa Bay still, again, playing well, getting great pitching, timely hitting, obviously, and they're up at 37-15. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the LA Dodgers all in first place. All what we kind of figured would be at the end of the year, but the Mets are kind of hanging around now, starting to get pitching. Maybe the premature declaration of Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer as being done. They turned it around and pitched tremendously last weekend. The Braves 31-19. They're 12 games over 500. Not overwhelming, but they've got a 5.5 game lead. The Marlins, every year they seem to be right there. They're dropped back now to a game below 500, but they're 6.5 out. The Phillies, they still have an opportunity to make a comeback yet. They did it last year, but now they're 8 games out. But they made it all the way to the World Series last year as a wild card, so you never know. And the Nationals, again, struggling in last place. Pittsburgh has come back to earth now. They're only a game over 500. Fortunate that they're in the Central, because Milwaukee is only 4 games above 500. They're in first place, a game and a half out. The Cubs kind of struggling, 4.5 out. And then St. Louis now, watch out. They were in last place. They're only 5 games out. They're always there, always. So don't count out the St. Louis Cardinals ever. That winning mentality. They're only 5 games behind the Brewers. The Brewers are going to have to step it up. Keep an eye on St. Louis. You always have to. And in the West, the Dodgers, they've been playing 500 their last 10 games, but they're on top. Only now a game and a half up. Arizona, can they keep it up? 29-21. They're only a game and a half back of the Dodgers. The Giants now at 500. They've won 8 out of their last 10. And the Padres, again, when do they turn the switch on? All that talent in San Diego. And they're still 23-27. In Colorado, they're on the bottom at 22-29. Well, there you go. That's our look at Major League Baseball at the quarter pole. Some tight division races. Nobody's really blowing anybody out. So that's what we like to see in Major League Baseball. I think the biggest lead is for the Atlanta Braves. So we'll keep an eye on that. Everybody's got a shot still at the quarter pole, except if you're an Oakland A's fan or maybe a Kansas City Royal fan. Maybe we'll leave it there. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, everybody. I hope you have a lot of fun plans, some cookouts, whatever, get together with family or just with your loved ones, or just have fun and enjoy yourselves this Memorial Day weekend. I know I'm going to. And we'll be back again. We will not be on Memorial Day. We'll be back on Wednesday. And as we mentioned, joining us on Wednesday will be Chris Mascaro. We're going to he's our PGA or our golf enthusiast, our golf insider, if you will. We're going to have him on the show. We're going to talk PGA Live Tour, the PGA Championship. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about Michael Block and everything else going on in his sports world. So we're excited to have him on Wednesday, as well as having you taking time out to watch us. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Enjoy Game 6 of the NBA playoffs. Enjoy Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between Dallas and Vegas. Enjoy the Indianapolis 500 if that's your thing, a tradition in sports racing or in the IndyCar circuit. So we hope that you enjoy that as well. And again, enjoy your weekend. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Belly Up Sports, again, for powering us up here on the show. We'll be back Wednesday. Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Wednesday here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. So long.